Alright, I wanted to add a video to my many list of videos that kind of went over all the mastery points for the new commanders or the new mastery points as well as every other one. So I'll just start off with Raynor. I usually like to do increased speed for drop pot units. More times than not, you're going to find yourself able to have enough health on all your units. Stimpack duration doesn't make too much of a difference, and the increased speed for drop out units is actually really nice to have. Banshee airstrike cooldown is probably the most it's probably the most damage you're going to get out of the two. However, these guys don't attack the air, the Hyperion does. So depending on which mission I'll go for, I'll actually select the Hyperion. But more times than not, I'm going to choose the Banshee airstrike because it ends up being that you only have about 60 seconds that the Banshees aren't on the screen, which is actually really nice. And then I usually just do heal additional targets. If you're going for mech, sometimes this makes more sense, but this is something I'm going to do for the average time, just to get more healing done. Kerrigan is actually got a lot of new ones, so I'm going to go over all those. Kerrigan attack damage is actually the best thing you're going to find. The energy regeneration is nice, because you can do more leaping strikes and stuff like that, but it doesn't actually add as many as you'd think. And the Kerrigan attack damage does allow you to kill air units, which is the most important thing for Kerrigan. The augmented immobilization wave is really cool because you can basically take out an entire wave with just that. But in the end, you are actually able to take out the entire wave with this and using her attack damage. So I'll just go for best being combat unit best being cost reduction because it actually makes it so you can do more units. And then the Expedious evolution is way better than the prolonged mutating carapace because this makes it so you can get every single upgrade that you'd ever want. So I really recommend that one. Artanis hasn't really changed much, but I will go over it. Guardian Shell, way better than the Shield Overcharge because this keeps your units alive as well as gives them a heal when they die. Um, if you really feel like you want to get more units out, you could do the Warp and Charge cooldown, but the extra speed for Warp and units makes those Zealots that you're going to spam so much more useful. So that's what I'll always go with that one. And then Chrono Boost Efficiency makes so much more sense over the initial and maximum Spirit of Dune energy because you never really run out of Spirit of Dune energy anyways, and this makes it so you or your partner have really awesome Chrono Boosts. Swann, again, hasn't changed very much. I've been going for a 50-50 on this one. I used to go just combat duration and life, but it doesn't really make as much difference because they still do crazy damage and they still last pretty long. And then this makes it so this one does actually more damage and a little bit bigger, so it's a lot more useful. More times than not, I am going to go for structure health over Immortality Protocol, but there's a couple like mutations where I think it makes more sense to go for the Immortality Protocol, but I still find that this one makes more sense. More times than not, this power set 2 really doesn't matter too much. Unless you're going specifically for a defensive build, then for sure structure health. Or if you're going to be making a lot of Thors, which I don't like to make Thors anyways, so this one doesn't matter as much. I went all the way to laser drill production time and upgrade time, and then I've switched back and forth. Now I'm back to the best being drone cost because it just makes it so you can make your drones at any point. Going back up to 100 minerals to make one drone just doesn't make as much sense to me. And then going 50-50 doesn't matter that much. In the end, yeah, you are reducing about a minute, but it's not as big of a deal. Sometimes you can go a little bit more like 75-25, and that'll work pretty well for you. Zagara does have new mastery points, so I will go over that. Same thing with Kerrigan, although you do add the Zagara life. Attack damage usually means more because you can actually, again, kill the air units and do more damage to things. So I always find that that's going to be better. Bailing attack damages will always be better than evasion because even if you have full evasion, it's still only 15%. And most of the things that kill Zerglings aren't attacks, they're spells. Spells kill more Zerglings than anything else, and evasion doesn't change that. That'll always be something that hits no matter what. And then Sustained Frenzy, same kind of deal with that Kerrigan. Yes, it's cool to have that last longer, but in the end, you're going to kill everything during the normal sustained frenzy time, or normal frenzy time, and then roach damage and life just makes more sense. Now, this used to be with bailing attack damage, if I remember correctly. and then Zagara Life and the Larva. So this was something I never used, but it makes more sense out of the two of those. Alright, I'm going to move on to Vorazun. Dark Pylon range seems to be better. Same kind of deal with that Kerrigan, where in the end, you're going to kill everything before the normal duration ends up going away, so what's the point in increasing it? Time stop, Shadow Guard, again, another thing, you're going to kill everything during the normal duration anyways. The only thing it would really matter is maybe if you wanted to take care of your rocks and your partner's rocks and then do something else. But more times than not, time speed increase makes so much more sense, because during that time stop, you want to get as much damage as possible. I do 51 here and then 13 here, because this guarantees that you can get 2 Dark Pylons out and then get your Shadow Guard out exactly on time to when the cooldown goes away, so you can take out the rocks immediately or help with a wave or anything like that. And that allows you to get 2 Dark Pylons. And then having a little extra Chrono Boost is always nice. Karax, this is the only one where I have... Depends on what I'm trying to do. But I'll go over the other two first. Initial and maximum Spear of Adun energy is crucial to being able to take down your rocks like as soon as possible. I usually do a pylon straight into an extra nexus. I've been doing 50-50 here because getting this extra chrono wave energy regeneration or generation actually is nice. It helps out a lot, and you don't really need more Spear of Adun healing. You have a lot, especially if you get the upgrade, so that's not too bad. This one here, if I'm going carriers or any sort of actual army build, I'm going to put it all in here. If I'm going for defense, it's all going to go in here. Abathur, Toxic Next respawn chance makes the most sense. Men doesn't do as much, and they finally fixed it too, so that it actually will heal every single unit on the screen. Because I think it got to a point where like over 100 units, anything over 100 would have a chance of not getting healed. So it actually works better now, so you don't even need that. And then if you set up enough Toxic Nest in the right spots, you don't ever have to worry about any sort of ground units coming through that area. You can just keep spawning them more, and they'll just keep coming back. So that's really nice. Not as useful as some might think. It does increase the percentage, but it's not that much. 30% doesn't make that. I think it turns it from like 200 to 260, which is really not that much. So biomass recovery chance makes more sense. Hopefully you don't lose any units with biomass, but in the end it's still going to make more sense. And then the morph and evolution rate, so much better than maximum charges for your nests. You just can do everything so much better. Alarak, you'll always get the damage. Same thing with every other hero commander. Makes more sense to get the Alarak attack damage. Chrono Boost efficiency is pretty nice, and you will find yourself doing certain builds. Like if you don't like to use Alarak, do Chrono Boost efficiency. Because sometimes there's some times where I will only use Supplicants and Ascendants, because it makes more sense to me sometimes to not have Alarak stealing Supplicants from my Ascendants, and that way I can constantly keep all of my Ascendants at full health, and I'm never really gonna have that opportunity where if all of a sudden all of my Supplicants die or get sacrificed, then Alarak will start using his Ascendants as health. So that's something to worry about. So the other thing I like to do is Death Leaf cooldown. His army is so slow, in my opinion, that it makes more sense to me to do the Deathly cooldown, because I can always spawn that anywhere on the map that I can see and take care of any extra waves. And then the Empower Me, same thing with every other hero commander. It doesn't make as much sense because you end up killing everything during the normal Empower Me duration. So what's the point? And then Structure Overcharge and Shield and Attack Speed, so good. It makes it so you can take out rocks. It makes it so you can do anything you really want to do with it. And then Combat Unit Attack Speed, I like to go Supplicants and Ascendants, so it really doesn't make any difference to me. We're getting close to the end here. So Griffin Airstrike cost makes more sense to me because you can actually use it a little bit more, and the Nuke and Hollow Decoy cooldown ultimately just gives you 1 or 2 of them extra, and it's not as important as 2 or 3 extra Griffin Airstrike costs, or cooldowns, or calldowns. Although other commanders might have you want to do the thing that increases their attack damage or speed, her units do so much damage, and she doesn't really do that much damage in and of herself. It's all abilities that the combat unit attack speed makes so much more sense than anything else. And then last but not least, the unit life regeneration is so much better than Nova energy regeneration, especially if you're in her stealth mode, because you can just get the upgrade that makes it so her snipe gives 50% energy back if it kills a unit. So energy regeneration doesn't mean as much as the unit life, because this makes it so if you don't have access or you don't really want to make a lot of ravens, or you just want to make sure that between attack waves, all of her units will be fully healed between attack waves. And Karina brings up a good point. Attack damage would have been much better than attack speed. I totally agree with that as well. I still would probably go with the combat unit attack speed, but exactly. That'd be really cool because then two snipes would brings up really good points there. Last but not least is Stukov. This is another commander that has a little bit of variance depending on what you like to do. Exactly. So volatile, I usually go 50-50 on this. At least like having maybe 5% in 20 seconds. Just having some volatile infested means a lot because it just turns every once in a while some of those infested into basically banelings, and that's really awesome. This is kind of the same thing as the Banshees. The Apocalypse will get you a lot more DPS, so sometimes it's going to be better off to do it like this. Although, if you like to spawn both of them at the same time, if you do this, they both will run off cooldown at the exact same time every single time. So you'll always be able to do both of them at the same time if you like to do that. It all depends on what you're going up against. And then infested infantry duration or mech attack speed. Do you want to go mech or do you want to go infantry? That's kind of the only real deal here. I know a couple people that just love mech from Stukov. I have never really been a big fan of it, especially his Diamondbacks. His Diamondbacks have this cool ability that slows the enemies so that you can always be ahead of them, but the problem is it slows them to the point, and their little trail isn't large enough that you keep having to go inside the attack range of the unit you're trying to slow down in order to actually do damage with them. So I've never been a really big fan of Diamondbacks. But anyways, I'm Hunter That's every single commander, including all the new mastery points. Thanks so much for watching. I do hope you enjoy. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching.